All right, welcome back to another episode of In the Kitchen. Today we're back in the kitchen with the head chefs over at Funnel Chef. So, if you haven't met us already, well, over at funnelchef.io, we work with coaches, consultants, and agency owners to implement proven recipes for success into their business so they can start to attract more clients, generate more revenue, more profits, all while avoiding that dreaded guesswork, trying to figure out what's going to work for them. So again, this is taking proven systems and processes that have already worked, not only in our business, but in our clients' business and even our competitors throughout the years. And we boiled them down to simple but specific, detail-oriented recipes that you can implement into your business. So you don't have to be a tech guru, a smooth talking salesperson, or just a genius in general to have success, right? Just like a good recipe, as long as you have the right ingredients and you follow the step-by-step process, you can also get results. So, guys, we were actually talking about. I think this was more if we were talking about the New York Mets of how they think that they suck and then they just kind of suck. So, but not only in like sports and in life, is that an issue? I think in a lot of people's business, they run into, I guess we can call like limiting beliefs, which is, could be a number of different things, but a lot of times we see it where it's someone who, they really maybe haven't had the success they want to have. And then they see someone else having success. And then, those negative ideas and limiting beliefs start to come into their head where they're thinking, maybe I can't, reach this goal, or I can't have this certain type of this level of success that I want. So, talking about limiting beliefs, before we get into it too deep. So, Mikey, you were talking about Florida State. Uh,
That's right, everybody.
Having a great year,
Everybody
right?
knows what time it is. Heading up to college football, baby. Every time you see me until day one, and then most of the season thereafter. Sporting FSU. But
You
it's all
got
coming
any
up the hunting
limiting
season.
beliefs
I don't
going
know.
into the season?
Margins out there.
So,
No, he's just static for his team. He has zero limiting beliefs about the Florida State Seminoles this year.
So that's probably not true. I am of the expectation that just because I am a fan, we are going to lose. It's been true for the Jacksonville Jaguars for me. It's been true for Florida State. I was actually a Florida Gator before I went to the Florida State University. And yeah, as soon as I became a fan, all went downhill. So that's definitely a self-limiting belief on my part. You know, um, I combat it with a lot of enthusiasm and some Saturday binge drinking sometimes. Seems to help.
yeah, well, Jaguars are on the up and up. Maybe Florida State is as well, right? Is that comeback season?
Comeback. Well, you don't want to jinx it. Don't call it a comeback. That's what they said. But I think getting serious.
Well, I'm trying to jinx it.
Thanks, Mike. There's a fine line between self-limiting beliefs and being realistic about where you are in your expertise, your profession, your professional life, whatever. Um, Telling yourself that you just can't do it or it can't happen for you is a blanket self-limiting belief where entrepreneurs really should be focusing is, okay, what can I do? Without a doubt. What am I great at? Where's the area or the subject matter that I'm okay, I understand, but I could use a little bit of help. And then what do I not know at all? And then they need to bridge those other gaps. How important is that don't know it all section, and how much more expertise they need on this isn't my specialty area. So, make that, I guess, double T chart and write every piece out and then start checking the boxes. It's just a matter of effective project management and planning, that overcomes the reality of self-limiting doubts.
Yeah, I've definitely seen, and I don't know if this is maybe the right way to phrase it, but I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs that, if they're running into issues or they're trying to fix, their sales and their marketing, they say, okay, well, I need to dial in my sales process, and I also need to figure out like my marketing so that I can have, steady and qualified leads coming in to go into that sales process. But, there's a lot of steps that it seems like people don't want to take. And I don't know if it's just fear of like, what if it doesn't work out? What if, I'm not able to actually fix these problems? But, for example, if you're really trying to fix your sales process, you need data, right? You need to be able to track that. And then if you want to dial in your marketing, same way, you need data. But so, I like looking at it as just, again, client acquisition in general, so sales and marketing. But if that's an issue that you're trying to fix, if it's your marketing, maybe you need to invest some money into like paid ads. If that's your issue, you feel like you can't find leads, that might be a solution. And you can run into that fear of like, well, I don't want to spend money on ads because what if it doesn't work out? Like, what if I'm not able to actually convert those leads into paying clients so I can recoup those, those expenses? But you're definitely not going to do it if you're just not going to do it, right? It's just you're going to end up with the same problem. And I think, especially if you're trying to dial in a sales process, if it's all unqualified leads going through it, people who aren't the right fit for you, there's no way you can even really figure out if it's working. Because if you're talking to the wrong person, it's all going to be wrong, right? If you're trying to sell, a yacht to a 15-year-old, you're probably not going to sell a lot of yachts, and that's a pretty extreme example, but still goes into the idea of you're talking to the wrong people. And if you don't talk to enough of the right people and then actually have something to track, then you really don't know if it's going to work out. But I think that's at least what I see a lot of limiting beliefs on, and negative mindsets when it comes to investing in their business. And it's almost like they're just trying to fail slowly, instead of, I don't want to say going all in, but actually like investing in their business and trying to make those changes that they want.
Yeah,
That's
I would agree with that 100%. I mean, you hear it all the time when you're like, hey, this is an investment into yourself or into your business. It could be a good fit for them at the time. Maybe it's not. But one of the limiting beliefs is, at least in a term that we hear a lot, is I'm not there yet. Or that's not something for me at this time because I'm not there. I haven't hit some milestone that then allows you to go to the next step. It's like the limiting beliefs are almost like a checklist that's a mindset that says I have to do X, Y, Z in order before I'm successful. Because, like you mentioned, Chris, you're looking at the uber successful entrepreneurs and business owners and the guys in the media, all that thing. You're like, well, once I'm at that level, then I can do all of these other things like do paid advertising or get a VA, or then I can get a CRM or something of that nature. Like even the most basic thoughts and mentalities, that when you have that limited belief, you're not able to go all in. You're not able to lift your company up and then make the next step, because at any juncture, you're just like, well, I have to do this first. Like, no, you don't. It's business. You never know what the right step is at any given time. But typically, as long as you follow a proven path or you go all in and get the data that you're talking about, then you can make educated decisions instead of just always saying, like, I'm not there yet. Well, why aren't you there? Because you need to have data driven results or data driven like mindset. So that way you're never just sitting there going, well, I'll be there someday, AKA slow burn.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's something I feel like, man, a ton of people, if you are in the like the fitness industry, like a fitness coach, you probably speak to a ton of people, and that's probably a common objection, right? For someone trying to lose weight, trying to get started doing something, they always say, "Look, well, I've got family coming over this month. Like I don't know if I can get started with that now. I've tried doing this in the past; it didn't work out, so I want to find the right time to do this." Um, and overcoming that's probably pretty substantial, I think, for a lot of people, because it is, you can say it's as easy as, well, you just have to do it, right? If you're just trying to dial in your marketing, you have to just start your marketing. You have to just start your advertising. You don't want to just go in at guns blazing, and set yourself up for failure. But I think you can also get into that point of where, you know, at what point does your negative mindset, limiting beliefs, when does that turn into procrastination? And then when does that procrastination lead towards no change, or maybe not even failure, but just no change, right? If you're on a steady slope going down, if you never even try to like pump the brakes, maybe turn around, do something, you're just going to keep going in a straight line down. And so it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have everything figured out, but you definitely do need to have some sort of plan. But, if you're waiting for the perfect moment, right, for all of the stars to align, they probably never will. Right. And that's when someone sees maybe like a Russell Brunson or like a Tony Robbins, and they see, wow, they're having all this success. I see their ads everywhere online. There's no way I can start running ads. Well, it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Um, Tony Robbins didn't just like wake up one day and was like, all right, I'm going to be on like every TV show and then I'm going to have huge speaking events, right? Yeah, I remember hearing a story from, I can't remember who, I think it was a past client we worked with who was a big Tony Robbins guy. And he was saying, he remembers back in the day when Tony Robbins used to would go to people's houses. He's basically doing house calls, so he wasn't Tony Robbins at that point. He was still, I guess, Tony Robbins, right? But he wasn't at that level of success that maybe gets kind of just stuck on him now, like a sticker or a name tag. So, you're not going to start out being super successful, and it's not, there's not really just one thing that you can do. I'm sure people see a ton of ads online that say, you're going to make this one simple change in your business and it's going to change your life, revolutionize everything, and you're going to have success, right? And that's all, BS, right? There's not like one thing that you do, right? That's the same way if you're again looking at fitness coaching. There's not like one thing someone can do that's going to completely change their health, right? It's a number of things kind of compounding, working with each other. So just like that, success in your business, even if it's just your sales and your marketing and you're looking at that as the main problem, there's a lot of small things, maybe not even small things, but there's a ton of different things that have to work right in harmony for you to get that level of success. And, putting everything off, not doing any of it, waiting for the stars to align, it's going to have the same effect. It's going to snowball and things are just going to keep getting worse. And then you're definitely going to feel like, well, there's nothing I can do now.
Yeah, I think opportunity comes to those that seek it out, right? In my experience, great things don't happen to those that wait. It happens to those that go and make it happen for themselves. Um, and that's as simple as putting one foot in front of the other, to a degree, right? As long as you have your path charted out and you know where you're going. Because if you're putting one leg or one foot in front of the other and one leg shorter than the other one, then you're probably walking in a circle, right? So I'm sure nobody gets that analogy, but it's all right. In any case, there's definitely a difference between busyness and business, right? Just because you're staying busy, doing whatever you feel needs to be done doesn't necessarily mean that you're filling your day with the highest and greatest use, to steal a real estate development term, right? What is it? Where is it that you want to be in 2, 3 years, 18 months, 2, 3 years from now? Where are you today? What is the gap between those two? And what is it going to take to get there? And then break it down into bite-sized chunks, into daily actions. There's a really good professional development and high performance coach named Jason Selk. Are you guys familiar? Chris, I'm pretty sure you know who that is.
Mm, I mean, the name sounds familiar, but
So
yeah,
I want to say
not.
he was the high performance coach for the Ravens or the Bengals. I can't remember which one.
Oh, okay.
But Michael used to work with him, and he came up with, well, I doubt he came up with it, but he was a big proprietor of the concept of having one daily task. What is one thing that I should do every single day that's going to make my life better? That's really going to move the needle, right? And then he would have one more task, which was, what is the one thing that I can do today that's going to move me closer to my goal? So there's one routine every single day thing that he was working on to get better as a whole, and then one thing that was an action item. to move him towards his ultimate goal. Um, I don't remember the term specifically that he used, but that's the dumbed down version of the concept. And I think that's something that, no matter where you are in business or in life, sometimes we need to be reminded of that, right? Um, to just get back to the basics and keep moving forward in the direction that we want to go. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely hear this. At least I've heard it a lot, with different like sales training, but especially that, but really any sort of training, right? If it's fitness, sales training, anything at all, it's that if you can get 1% better each day, you're still like moving in that direction, and that's when you get that snowball effect, where if you get 1% better every single day, it's probably better anyway than just waking up and having random success kind of out of nowhere, because then you don't know how to handle it, right? Like if you were trying to get jacked, get ripped, and you just get in that one hard workout one day and then you wake up and you got like 20 extra pounds of muscle on, you're probably going to fall down the stairs, accidentally walk into stuff, throw things too hard, right? Like your body doesn't know how to handle it. So same way with your business, in general. But yeah, if you're trying to set goals, you can do one thing each day to work towards that. But I think part of finding and identifying those goals is being able to actually identify problems. So for example, if it's your business and you're but you want more clients, right? You need more business coming in, being able to identify like where the issue is. You really just have to have data. If you're looking at a whole client acquisition process where someone raises their hand, opts in, whether it's scheduling a call or just submitting info for whatever sort of lead magnet you have, and then point B being where they actually become a paying client, you need to have data to track throughout that whole process and find where the leaks are. Because if you really don't know and you're just guessing, you're just going to keep making changes, and you may end up changing something that does not need to be changed, right? But that's what we work on with, really like all of our clients in the beginning. Is we call it our meal plan, but we need to 100% identify all these important aspects in your business. And sometimes it's just asking those super simple questions of like who, what, why, when, and then how. But you need to be able to answer those questions, and then you can hopefully identify these problems, make sure that you're sticking to a plan. Again, we call it the meal plan. But we do that so that we can then find the right recipe for them to use in their business. And we say it all the time, but there's definitely not one recipe for success, right? There's many recipes for success, and for you, this may make sense to do today, but a year from now, when maybe you have just a large number of clients coming in, you have an expanded sales team, maybe the process looks different then. But you've got to get past today to get to tomorrow. So it's being able to identify problems, figure out where the leaks are, and then actually have data to track and figure that out for yourself, and then you can make changes. And so it's not just jumping in head first into a shallow side of the pool. You should probably figure out how deep the water is first.
how often do people come to you, Chris or Scott, saying that they need to fix something in their sales process, but it's not their sales process. It's their lead flow and volume.
Yeah, man, that's probably one of the most common things that you see from anyone who they're saying, "Hey, I need to hire a closer. I need to bring on a salesperson." Maybe you do, right? Maybe you do. I think you would say you need to do that when it's more of a volume issue. Like maybe you're doing the sales. If you're a solopreneur and you think, "Hey, I need to hire a closer so that I can put my time towards actually working with clients," and it's a volume thing to where your schedule is just too tight, you hire a closer then. But if it's an issue of not being able to convert and you can't actually turn leads into clients, maybe you're not a good salesperson, right? So maybe at that point, maybe hiring a salesperson does help. But if it's more of just an issue with lead flow, right, then I don't think a salesperson is going to help you there. You can always have, if it's a setter working for you, you can do outbound, work for you, but you still have to have leads for that, right? If you just hire a salesperson and say, "Hey, man, you're just going to cold call all day and find some leads and then sell to them," right? You're probably not going to get a great salesperson there. because they're probably not going to want to take that on. But also that's not fixing a problem. That's just more marketing. If you just have people just cold calling, cold DMing, reaching out, that's just lead gen. That's not really actually helping with sales. That's leading into the sales process. But yeah, I don't know.
So
You just have to have the data right.
I would argue that if an entrepreneur, a business owner can't sell their product, then a salesperson's not going to be able to. Even if you're not, there are so many people, coaches, consultants, just entrepreneurs generally that I've talked to. They're like, I'm just not good at sales. I need help with sales. And I'm like, well, why do you feel that way? And they'll say, well, I spoke to 4 prospects last week and I only closed one. And my mind just blows up because that's actually a pretty decent close ratio. 25% and they talk to 4. A real salesperson's going to call if it's a business development, depending on where they are in the sales process, they're going to call 100 to 250 people per day prospecting and probably email and text the same number. If it's somebody that's taken a sales process from start to finish, they're still going to prospect and reach out to 50 to 100 individuals and have, 4 to 10 calls scheduled per day to get maybe a 25% close ratio from prospect to actual close. But in reality, when you have a true marketing funnel that's bringing in, relatively cold leads, that has to be warmed up in some way, shape, or form, but you're an unknown asset. Your business is an unknown asset to this prospect. And then they're going to the best salespeople on earth. They maybe close what, 3%? So being realistic about where you are, where your business is, what your skill set is, and what the business needs is one of the most important things that I can ever recommend to an entrepreneur. And it's pretty impossible, like you were saying, Chris, to be realistic if you don't know what your numbers are. If you're not tracking your key performance indicators, your key conversion points, you know, um, how many impressions are you getting? From those impressions, how many clicks are you getting? How many click throughs are you getting? From there, how many opt-ins are you getting? From opt-ins, how many are qualifying and giving you the information of the marketing qualified lead now? How many of those are actually showing up to that first appointment? How many of those are actually sales qualified leads or conversation qualified, as we talked about the other day, right? Are you putting your time into the right people at the right point in their cycle? If you're not, you're wasting your time, frankly. And if you don't know at all because you're not tracking any of this, well, you're just stumbling around. You're walking with one leg shorter than the other. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely an issue that a lot of people really don't even think about. Like you mentioned right there, like, well, I don't think I'm just really good at sales. Spoke with 4 people, only closed one. They're also really, I mean, that is it 4 qualified people that you spoke with? Were 2 of them like someone who shouldn't even be there, right? At that point, man, maybe you just closed 50%, right? So at that point, it is lead gen, right? You just need more leads. Because again, it's all about client acquisition. It's not just separate sales or marketing, but the sales are operating. There's good conversion rate. You're confident in the process. You just need to feed the machine, right? If you know that you can close 25% of qualified leads, you just need more qualified leads. You can always work on trying to increase that, right? If you can go from 25 to 30%, that's great, especially at volume, right? If you're taking in, throughout a month, if your marketing's dialed in, whatever your process is for finding leads, if you can generate, let's say, even 100 qualified leads a month, going from 25% to 30% is going to be huge. That's 5 more clients per month. And if you're selling an offer that's, it's just to keep the number easy, let's say 10,000, that's an extra 50 grand a month. like that, you put that back into marketing, then you increase that number from 100 to 125, 150, keep making incremental increases, right? And that's where you get into that 1% a day, keep moving the needle forward. So it's definitely, I think being able to identify and actually understand where the problem is. And that's a whole, joke that I feel like it's a bad joke that I've said, but it's like, if you're standing in a room and you've got this like giant spider on the back of your head, you can't see that, right? You might be able to feel it. It's on your body. So maybe you can tell a lot of things that other people can't, but sometimes it's also something simple that the guy walking past, the room in the hallway looks in and he's like, hey man, you've got a giant spider on the back of your head. Like you might not even notice that because you can't see it. So that's where, especially with people that, we work with, it's, no one's going to know your business better than you in terms of like the insides and the small details. But hiring like a coach or a consultant to come in and work with you who knows how to actually systematize and process out like the whole plan, like from start to finish, that can actually work with you to get those small details from you, kind of fill in the gaps, put some more information, some more detail on it, and then help you find like where those leaks are in the process. Um, and it may save you more time and money. So it's, that's where you get into if they just don't think it's going to work, the process is going to work. They don't want to invest in themselves, in their business to fix those issues. If you've got leaky pipes under your house and you just ignore it, I mean, it's not going to get better, right? It's not just all of a sudden the water is going to stop, going through the leaks. It's just going to compound. And then eventually, your house is just going to be filled with water. Who knows what happens after that, right? I'm not a plumber. I don't know any of that stuff, but talking about leaks, that sounds like something that would happen. So,
Right. I would agree with you. I think it also comes down to like, if you are able to see some success in your business, right? And maybe you're a tremendous sales rep, and that's how you're able to communicate, get some sales in, and you are expanding. If you don't have the right, I mean, recipe, or at least the idea of where you want to go, like what Mike even mentioned earlier, like having an 18-month plan into a 5-year plan, you can't really lead people to the water if that's like you need to expand your team. So I think a lot of people forget that. I mean, like you guys said, typically the first two things someone says early on in business is like, I need more leads, or I need better closers, or a mixture of both. But at the same time, it's like, okay, even if you did bring in an extra lead gen or a closer, what is your plan of action to train them to be a part of your brand or your culture or your system? So if you yourself haven't even considered or thought about it, maybe you do get really good results early on while you're a solopreneur, have a small team. But if you are scaling and getting 1% better, especially in the sales and marketing, there's going to be a time where those leaks are going to show, and you're going to have to do a full-on flex seal job, where your boat is completely underneath it is basically like a screen, and you're going to have to go in daily and spray the flex seal, put some band-aids on it, and hopefully it doesn't fall apart. But if you take the time early on in business to write out your business plan, to put your meal plan together, to write where you want to be in 18 months and 5 years, and build out your perfect scenario, and then take steps to reach that, every step of that journey, you're going to be able to plug holes before they actually become a problem, because you know exactly what you want. And that's something that I see a lot of people always forget. They just want the money or the clients, and they don't consider the foundation of their actual business.
yeah. And I think, you can use Flex Seal on the boat, right, to fix those leaks for a while, man. But at some point, it's like, you should probably just go get another boat, right? Or actually get some other repairs. I think, yeah, the Flex Seal, that's a good comparison with it, because that is the way a lot of people try to fix these problems. They're like, well, I can just do this really quick. It's not going to cost me much. Maybe it'll fix the issue now. But it's not like that problem goes away at that point, right? Like, at what point does it just keep getting worse, and then the Flex Seal doesn't work anymore? And then at that point, the problem's so huge, it's like you've got to fix that today, or you're going to sink out in the lake. So it's definitely, Flex Seal works from time to time, but at some point you've just got to replace the boat. It is pretty cool though. If you can spray Flex Seal all over a whole boat, that was pretty cool. But
Right.
it's
But
not a long term solution.
no, and it's also the price that you pay, because you're going to pay a heftier price the longer you wait or the longer you let something get worse, right? Um, if you're doing routine maintenance on your car, it's cheaper than if your transmission goes out. Or, I mean, like if you're talking consultants, you pay a consultant based on the size of the problem. And if you let something get to like a critical issue stage in your business because you didn't take the time, like you turned what could be a $2,500 problem or $5,000 problem into a 50, 100K problem. And then also the lost resources of your time, your effort, your efficiency, turnover, a bunch of different stuff. So it ends up costing you a heck of a lot more in the future. And it's cost that it might be financial, or it could be completely like mental, or it could be just time. And those are the most important things. So it was like tackle the issue early when you know you got the bandwidth for it, and you should do it so that way it doesn't go from a $500 problem to a $100,000 problem.
Yeah, and honestly, that's essentially our sales process in a way, and I think for most people it is, right? The verbiage may be different, but you're working on identifying the problems, figuring out what the problem is, and then what's the solution, right? Obviously, with us, no one can tell Funnel Chef, and if you see any of our like marketing or anything about us, it's all about food. So it's very specific about like finding that recipe for success. But it's all just identifying problems. We need to have data to track. Maybe it's just a conversation, but identifying problems and finding a solution. And Mike, you'd mentioned before you were actually speaking with someone who just put out their book. They're using it as essentially like a marketing tool, right, to help them find more clients. And one way that they wanted to do that was with more like speaking gigs, right? They actually wanted to talk to more people and do those, whether it's, speaking at like corporate events for larger organizations, or maybe it's, at a college, wherever it is, depending on what they actually do. But I mean, one thing, and it sounds super simple, but it usually is that simple, is that you need to know, who do you want to talk to? What problem are you addressing? Why is it important to fix the problem? And then where are those people, right? Like, so what places should you contact? And it's pretty simple. You're breaking down those very simple questions. But, in the past, I did booking for a number of different bands. And that was literally the exact same process that I followed to find venues to book them at. Because I would see, okay, what genre, what music are they playing, right? And then where do those bands play? Like, where should you play? Obviously, the financial aspect of it, that's there too. Who's got the budget to pay you. But I think we overcomplicate a lot of things, and I think writing down that process, which is essentially what we do with our meal plan, right? It gives you that North Star to follow. But again, it's all about solving problems. You have to identify the problem and then figure out how to solve it, whether it's speaking gigs or just landing clients in general. But I mean, do you want to go into a little bit more detail about like your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, not really. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, the person in question has recently written and published an international bestseller that he wrote to establish himself as an authority in his field, right? And to use as a lead magnet. And I'm not 100% sure that he fully appreciates the lead magnet portion of it yet, and just how powerful of a tool that can be. Um, but when we were talking, he was telling me, yeah, so I want more speaking engagements. Okay. And what else? Do you want these to be paid? Do you want them to be free? Like, what kind of speaking engagements are you looking for? Give me some more detail. So we dug into that a little bit. And then, I mean, the reality of the subject is, for most speaking engagements, in some cases, you're paying to be on those stages. You're cross marketing, you're providing leads, etc. So it can be a little bit of an uphill climb before that's in and of itself a revenue generating opportunity. So the other side of his business, what he was looking at was he wants to go into Fortune 500s and publics, almost said it, into public organizations, and speak to their executives, speak to their leadership to address the specific area um, of executive coaching that he focuses on, which is you know dealing with challenges head on, right? Not just putting it to the side, not skirting around it, but attacking the problem, right? And finding that that is the best way of going about things. So I mentioned to him, all right, so you want to do, day long seminars? Do you want to do half day seminars? Do you want to do virtual coaching and group sessions? Does it need to be, business or organization specific, or can it be business and organization agnostic, meaning they can come into your, you know, weekly or bi-weekly 1 day training session? What is it that you want this to look like? And he really didn't have full clarity on that. And you kind of need to get that level of clarity so then you can look at what the comparables are, other comps in the market, so you can price yourself accordingly. And then also so that you can start to focus on that niche and be able to tell them, this is what I have to offer, as opposed to, this is what I have to offer specifically, as opposed to showing up and saying, hey, I'd like to talk to your people and have you pay me for it. So the reality of the subject, it's like anything else. There is a decision maker in every organization that picks the roster for their conference. There is a decision maker that picks the roster for, you know, who is going to run ongoing education and training for the organization. What do we need to fix? Getting in front of those people is not rocket science. It's, picking out the criteria, getting on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, or getting into other associations, other organizations that are filled with those individuals, and hanging your shingle, putting it out there, messaging them, starting that conversation, and moving it forward. Um, yeah, it's like you said, it's just like booking a gig for a band. You just have to be able to play the tune that, yeah, they want to hear.
Yeah. Well, and booking a band is the exact same thing really as any other sales process, right? So to find out like who do you need to talk to? What are you doing for them? Why should they choose you? Why is it important for them to solve the problem as well? And then when are you going to do it, right? Maybe for something like a booking a band or a speaking gig, the when is very specific, as in it's this date. But same thing, and it sounds like he helps people, organizations work on not just trying to use Flex Seal to keep their boat from sinking. So, good. Um, it's a good process too. Yes, thanks for joining us, for another episode of In the Kitchen. So, if this is your first time meeting us over at funnelchef.io, well, we work with coaches, consultants, and agency owners to implement proven recipes for success into their business so they can attract more clients and generate more revenue and profits, all while avoiding, that dreaded guesswork, right? So this is taking proven systems and processes that have worked not only in our business, but for our clients and even our competitors throughout the years. And we've essentially just boiled them down to simple but specific, detail-oriented recipes that you can actually implement into your business. And you can do this. You don't have to be a tech guru, right? A smooth talking salesperson, or even just a genius in general, right? You don't have to be Tony Robbins or Russell Brunson to have success. Just like a good recipe, as long as you have the right ingredients and follow the step-by-step process, you can get great results, right? So if you'd like to learn more about who we are, what we do, why we do it, how we do it, and then also when we do it, and again, just to see if what we do even makes sense for you, you can check us out at funnelchef.io or on any social media platform.